Hi there YouTube, Big G back again with another video, and one of my recent pickups was this SD Floppy Emulator from Lotharek, and I want to start using this specifically with my 16-bit computers, or maybe in some of the 8-bits as well, but I want to try this first for the Atari ST just to see, get to know how it operates, how I can use it, because you can also use it for the Commodore Amiga, you can use it for the ZX Spectrums, and you can use them, and hopefully I'll be able to use it for my MSX and for my Spectra video computers as well. So I'm just going to go through, do a quick little, I suppose, basic tutorial on how to use this and get this up and running. Oh, there comes my cat. Okay, so just in a nutshell, come get yourself a little SD card that you're going to use obviously to load the software on, so that this emulates your floppy drive, which you can then operate through your original hardware. You can see here on the back there's the connector there for the floppy to the machine itself. You've got jumper connectors here at the back as well that allows you then to choose whether it's an A drive or a B drive, or both an A and a B drive, etc, etc. And then obviously the little power socket that's there. Just keep in mind, I know that that the little 5-volt line is the one closest into the motherboard. There are some, like I think it's the Amstrad 6128, where it's the other way around. But just have a look through the manual. It explains it pretty easily in the manual as well on how to set this up for whichever particular machine you are wanting to use it for. So this is going to be a Atari ST tutorial, and yeah, let's dive straight in. Okay, so I've stripped off the cover for my Atari ST simply by taking loose the screws at the back of the machine. Very quick and easy. Now it's a matter of getting the floppy or stiffy disk drive out. So it was also just the easy matter of loosening this aluminium case. These old computers got a lot of aluminium casing and so forth, and I removed that together with unplugging the floppy drive out of the machine so that I can replace it with my SD emulator. So first things first is to plug in the ribbon connector, and like I said earlier, if you have a look there, there's a little gap. Let me just move here. There's a little gap over there that shows you which way the actual cable goes in. I'm sure there might be specific computers that used a non-standard connector, then you would have to just cut that little bump off and use it like that. And then it's a matter of attaching the power cable, and like I said, the little orange wire, 5-volt, needs to be on the inside. So I'm just going to plug that in there, and it just goes straight on. Make sure it goes in nicely. There we are. And it's as simple as that. So it's ready to go. Now it's a matter of just getting the software loaded onto the SD card, and I'll put links down below for where I actually downloaded the software from. But just keep in mind, you can go to Lotharek's actual site and do the downloads from there as well, and get the latest versions, which is always great. So let's get the SD card up and running. Okay, so first off is the preparation of the SD card. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to format it. I've got one of these little connections here for my PC, SD card reader, just a normal, most PCs you'll just plug it straight in, or laptops or so forth. So plugging it in there. Okay, so now it's come up there. I can see now I can open my files if I want to have a look what's on there. So I've already tested it out, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to format it. Okay, I'm going to format it FAT32 as the default. Quick format just to clear that disk. Warning, everything will be erased. Click OK. And the format is complete. So now if I go back again and have a look, you'll see there that my SD card is completely empty. Now from Lotharek's site, I went and downloaded all the software that I needed to get this up and running, and I'll put links down below where you can actually get Lotharek's site from, and then you can download from there. And like I said, you'd also want to be able to get the latest if there's been any updates to the software. So I've just copied everything I need here into my SD Floppy Emulator directory. And the first thing that I need to do is I need to set up my SD card, okay, so that I can ensure that it has everything that's required. So if you have a look here, there was a SD card HXC Floppy Emulator Manager, which I downloaded from the site. The actual zip file was just over there. We are SD card. That's the actual file that I downloaded. So let me go into it, and you can see here it's already been pre-set up, the directories, to Amiga, Amstrad CPC, Atari ST, and Windows. So I'm going to go Atari ST. Then those are the files that I need on my SD card. Okay, so there's the auto boot HFE. From what I understand, or from what I've seen, the emulator runs off these HFE files. So you convert your disk images to HFE files. It then converts it back again on the machine live so that it emulates a floppy drive. So I'm going to just go there. I'm going to highlight that down to there. I don't need the release. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to stick it onto my H drive. Okay, so my SD card has what is required. Now it's a matter of getting games onto this, and you can download games from any site. There's a lot of them. Just do a normal Google search for Atari ST disk images or something like that, and you will find plenty. Okay, so let's just go back there now. I just want to put one or two images on there. Let me just go back here. There we are. I think I put it under here. Some more that I just dumped. There we are. Okay, so yeah, I took this off the net, downloaded some of these here. So I just at random took a few games that looked possibly interesting, and I think we're going to try Gods. I remember Gods, great platformer from Bitmap Brothers. Fantastic. So we're going to try Gods or Gauntlet, one of those two that we're going to try. Okay, and you can see it's been downloaded. I've unzipped them, the STX files. Okay, now in order for me to actually convert that, I need to run the HMXE emulator. So I'm going to run this application now, and there it is. Okay, so what this does now is this loads your disk images into the software, converts them into HFE files to put onto your SD card. When you put your SD card into the SD Floppy Emulator, which is attached to your Atari ST, it'll do the conversion the other way around, so it'll seem as if it's seeing disks. So what we're going to do now, you can either do the batch converter, or you can do the load them individually, load a floppy file image or convert multiple. So I've already got a couple in there, so I'm going to do the batch converter. It's just going to be easier. So I'm going to say batch converter, source directory. So where did I copy those disk images to? And it recognizes multiple different types of disk images. So I'm going to select, and I'm going to go back down to my temp directory. I'd stuck them into, no, it wasn't there. I'd stuck them into there, games HXE. So I've stuck them in there. I say okay. So that's where you can find my disk images. Where must it now convert them to and copy them onto? So I'm going to put it to my H drive, which is my removable drive. Okay, there we are. So I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to say convert. And there you can see it's reading them and writing them. Done, 8 files. So therefore I've put 8 disk images onto my SD card. So I'm going to say done. So I'm going to say cancel. I'm going to close this here. I'm going to go back now to my removable drive, and there it is. So there's the auto boot information. There are my games, which are now converted to HFE files. You can see there, HFE files. So my SD card should be good to go. I should be able to plug it in and then set up my SD Floppy Emulator on my Atari ST and get these games up and running. Okay, so we should be good to go. I have my newly formatted and should be in the right files on here. I can now plug this back into my emulator. So putting that in there, and now I'm going to be switching on the Atari ST. Let me just do that. Okay, so it's gone into an auto boot sequence, so that I can actually set up the SD files and so forth. So if you recall, and I just want to get a little something here I can use as a pointer, and it's not very clear on the screen itself, but anyway, there's that config file, there's the text file, there's the auto boot HFE file, which is this little auto boot sequence that it's booted up in, and there are those game disk images that we converted and stuck onto the SD card. So what we're going to do now, using the Atari ST itself now, I'm going to allocate those disk images to a drive. Because if I have a look here, if I click SD and use, if I go and I click on it, so there's Gauntlet. So there I've highlighted it. I'm going to push enter. Okay, it says drive A, slots selection. So where do I want to put Gauntlet, the first disk? I'm going to put it into slot 1, enter. Okay, now I go to the next one, Gauntlet B, push return. There's the first one that I put in there, US Gold Gauntlet, the first one. I'm going to put it into slot 2. There it is there. Guys, there may be an easier way of doing this, but I mean, this is the first time I'm using it, and I'm just going to figure it out from here. And let's put gods on there as well, because I'm not sure. Maybe Gauntlet, this is only a 520 STFM, maybe Gauntlet doesn't run. I haven't actually got the game up and running yet. So let's do gods as well. So I'm going to put it on there in position number 3. And the next one, slot 4. And let's just grab another one. What's this here? Galaxian. No idea. So let's put Galaxian on as well. So there we are. So I've got enough put on the 3 games, which are made up of 5 disk images, onto the into those slots on drive A. I'm now going to go, and there you can see it there. There, that's if I've got nothing on drive B. Okay, so now I've gone through. Now what I want to do is I want to save and reboot. So I want to save it, that configuration, so drive A will have those games on. So I'm going to save and reboot, push enter, saving, it's rebooting. And it's already chosen Gauntlet. Let me just move this here closer. So if you have a look there, on the screen it's telling me I need to put in disk number, what's this, a data disk, then press any key. If I look at the screen on the emulator, you can choose between the slots. So I want to go to the next slot, so that was drive 1, disk 1. So I go to the next slot, Gauntlet, I push the next over there, then I push a key here on the hard drive, on the keyboard, and then it should start reading disk number 2. There we are, seems to be doing something. Ah, there we have Gauntlet. And we have some music. Let's put it a little louder. Okay, so there, Gauntlet is up and running. Okay, so let's get gods up and running. I've switched on Gods has been chosen already, it should then automatically boot into Gods straight away. Let's say, for example, I didn't want to load Gods, I wanted to load Galaxian. So I leave it on Galaxian, I switch the machine off, switch on, there's Galaxian there, so it should boot straight into Galaxian. Okay, so if I go now to the floppy drive, there's Galaxian. Let's just find the Galaxian PRF file. Where's the prog file? I think it's the program file. So I'm running it, and if you have a look on the actual emulator, you can see it is loading the tracks. So that wasn't an automatic boot. It's doing something. And I have no idea if that Galaxian file actually works. So let's rather choose Gods. So it's Gods disk 2, so there, that was Gauntlet. Okay, so there I've chosen Gods disk 1. So I'm going to switch the machine off. Switch the machine on. And there we are, it's starting to load Gods. Oh, that's starting to look like Gods. This is one of my favorite platformers from back in the day. And you can see there, it is loading track for track of Gods. That music brings back memories. Now that is classic. Loading the game now. Okay, so it's asking for disk 2 now. So there, disk 2. Cool, so begin quest, enter password. So let's just begin quest. Got my good old trusty Spectra video joystick. And let's test our Gods. I mean, you cannot get more classic than that. What a fantastic game. And it's working. Okay, so there you have it. We loaded up Gods. I could play Gauntlet, I could play whatever game I want. It's very easy to get the games off the net. But just to recap, guys, so first step, setting up your SD card, formatting it, copying the necessary files on depending on which machine you actually want to emulate. So this was Atari ST, so I copied those files on, attaching your emulator reader to the actual hardware itself, going into it, setting up its auto boot function, then allocating which of the disk images go into whether disk A or drive B, then either booting straight into it like the Atari ST will boot straight into it, so choosing using left and right to go between your different tracks. You can read what the game is that's on the actual screen itself, letting it auto boot, or I suppose you could actually go into it, into the actual directory like you saw there as well, and actually run the game from there, although that Galaxian game didn't run, but I'm not sure whether that file is actually a working file or not. And yeah, then you can play from there. So that's just a quick rundown from what I understand in using one of these SD emulators. I'm going to try it with one of my other machines now just to see if it works similarly or so forth. There may be a number of easier ways of using this. I'm sure there are a lot of shortcuts in order to set up your configuration files, etc., to get it to work easier and better. But it works for me. I managed to play Gods, one of my all-time favorite platformers, and it was a lot of fun. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that quick little tutorial or little introduction to using an SD emulator, and cheers from me, and remember, keep it retro.